Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us. And we have a special sponsor for tonight's share, Esther Stern, who was very close to my first Rebbitzin in Staten Island and a serious member of her Tillim group. And the Stern family dedicates the shir for Esther's mother, Seril Bas Yeshaya. Her neshama should have a lichtige Gan Eden. She should be a mlitzis yeshara for her family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. We also have a regular Zoomer who had today open heart surgery, Yitzi Fuchs, and he should be about now out of surgery. If everything went as it's supposed to be, it was about a 6-hour surgery, and he's going to be heading into ICU for a few days. So we're going to learn for Yitzchak Mordechai ben Esther Bracha. Yitzchak Mordechai ben Esther Bracha should have a refuah shalema b'seich shechel Yisrael. Rabbi Kranz, you have any more recent information?
No. Just that he probably went in around 3 o'clock, a 5 hour or so. So he's still
Right. He might still be in surgery. He might still be in active surgery. Yitzchak Mordechai ben Esther Bracha. He should have a refuah shalema, get back quickly, and be better than new. We are dedicated by A.B. Spry for the safety of our troops and everybody in Eretz Yisrael and the hostages who are in really, really grave danger. And they're still shooting missiles from Lebanon. Everybody should be safe in Eretz Yisrael. It's a pella. And for Issazev ben Yuta, by Shimon Klein, the Refuah Shalema for Asher Ansel ben Yehuda, Gittel by Shimon Pinchas, by Irving Finchbaum for his Gesundheit ben Rezel, for my Shver Abigdoraya ben Rivka, Meir ben Chaya Sarah, and Reb Ruvain, Shalom Ruvain ben Shima. They should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shar Chela Yisrael. And let's welcome in Elliot Udell and Verish Gesserman, Dr. Guy, Mel Zachter, Aaron Swade, Marshall Castle, A.B. Spry, Shimon Klein, Mo Kushner, Stephen Holtzman, Ben Cian Cohn, Shalom Fogel, Nachman Chapler, Michael, Menachem Yamansky, Irving Fishbaum, Rebel Yafi, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Naftali Javelin, A. Barbach, Shelley Zeitlin, Pesach Ziegelman, Yitzi Muller, and the Veltman family. We welcome here Blumenfeld, Gedalia Engel, and it's great to have Reb Kramer back. It's wonderful. We miss you. We have Rich Leonard, Saba, Ruvain Shamet, and Reb Rosenberg. It's great to have all of you here in the shul. We are holding in the middle of a sugya on Mem Hey Amud Beis, as we're about to finish the 4th perek, and we are holding 6 lines from the bottom of Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis. Now, if you remember, we said that Reb Yehuda, who holds that a tam needs a shmira me'ula, while a mu'id, it's enough to have a shmira pchusa. That was, and we said that by a mu'id, sad tamus b'mekayma oimedes, which means that if a mu'id gores, and you, let's say you made a shmira pchusa, so you would be potter from the second half nezek, but the sad tam remains in its place, and therefore, since you only made a shmir pchusa and the tam needs a shmir me'ula, you would be chayiv the first chatzi nezek. That's what the Gemara has said. However, now the Gemara is going to tell us an opposition opinion in a very interesting way. As the Gemara tells us, again, if you're just joining us, 6 lines from the bottom of Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis, Amar Rav, Muad Lekeren Yamin, in the event that Marshall has a shar, and it gored 3 times with its right horn, which is not so unusual because that means it gored animals that was on its right side, on its dominant side. So then, ain't a muad the current smell. It's not a muad to gore with its left side. Now, the Rishonim over here say that this can't simply be telling me that if it goes with its right side, it's chayiv and nezek shalom, and if it goes with its left side, it's chayiv and chatzi nezek, because that we already know. We know that even a muad, an animal that's a muad l'adam is not a muad l'behema. So that's obvious that if it would be a muad for the right side, it's not a muad for the left side. So it must be coming to teach you something else. And therefore the Gemara says, Amrei aliba naman. Aliba d'rameir, that says both a tam and a muad needs a shmira ma'ula. So then what's the chiddush? Ha'amar echad tam echad muad shmira ma'ula boy. And aliba d'Rabbi Yehuda, and if it's going according to Rabbi Yehuda, well, both sides would need a shmira ma'ula, because the left side would need a shmira ma'ula because it's a tam, and the right side would need a shmira ma'ula because of its tzad tamas, because of its tamas part. My area, Karen Small, afilu biyamin nami is beit tzad tamas, is beit tzad muedes. It has a tam side and a mued side, a part, and it's chayiv shmira ma'ula for the tam part. Says Gemara, so this must be that this, the opinion of Rav is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, a muad, even for the tzad tamas, does not need a shmira ma'ula. A muad just is enough with a shmira p'kusa. And that's what he says. Imrei la'ilam k'Rabbi Yehuda. However, he doesn't hold the Rav Ada Barava that the tzad tamas remains in its place. V'hachi k'amar, and he says, ki ai gavna, only in such a case is the mishkachas beit tzad tamas umuedes, where you have in one shar that there's a tzad tamas and muedes, because the left side is a tam, and therefore it would need, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a shmira ma'ula, but the right side is a muad and it would need a shmira p'chusa. Aval muad legamrei loy mishkachas beit tzad tamas klal, but a regular muad does not have a tzad tamas. A regular muad, if you made a shmira p'chusa on a regular muad, that's enough, and you would be potter. And now we start 2 lines from the top of Daf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Rabbi Elazar Aimer ein lo shmira la sakin. Rabbi Elazar says that if you have a shar amud, if Marshall has an ox that gored 3 times, the only way he could properly guard it is to slaughter it. That's the only way. Amar Rabba, my time in Rabbi Elazar. What's the reason of Rabbi Elazar? The Amakra v'lo yishmerenu, and we're going to translate now. V'lo yishmerenu means that there's no way to watch it. Shuvein lo yishmiru lezeh, that there's no way to watch this animal. Says that can't be pshat. So that when it says by bar v'lo yichasenu, it means that there's no way to cover it. He doesn't cover the pit. Nami, are we going to interpret it shuvein like kisu lezeh, that there's no covering it, and even if you cover it, you're going to be chayiv? That that's the case. But tanan kiseu karai, if you cover it properly, v'nafal l'seichei shara chamar, and it falls into it, an ox or a donkey, you may potter. So it doesn't mean that you can't cover it anymore, because when you cover a bar, you're potter. The reason Rebbe Eliezer is if you have a shar that has killed 3 people, that's like a kelev ra. That's like a bad dog. And it says you can't keep a bad dog or a rickety ladder in your house. How do you know that you're not allowed to have a bad dog that goes around biting people? Nor could you have a dangerous rickety ladder. You shouldn't have blood in your house. Ramiller was very big on this. I remember that there was one time, this is going back many years ago, over 30 years ago, I remember that in a school, a child fell out of a second floor window and died. They wanted to make a big kinnis. And they asked Rav Miller, what should they make a kinnis? It should be the tshuva about television, about smoking. What should they make a kinnis? And he said, make a kinnis that you have to have window guards. That's the kinnis. You have to have window guards. And that's what it says, Lo yisasim damim b'veisecha. People are, I remember, I didn't learn, and I should have learned also, for my first Rebbitzin, whose yahrzeit was today, Mim Liba Bas Reb Aaron. I remember that on Hanukkah, my Rebbitzin would get from Cornell. Cornell had the biggest burn unit in New York, and Cornell put out, because they had I think 10 rooms, and sometimes 9 out of the 10 were from a Jews, and they put out a advisory about how to be careful with the plastic tablecloths, that babies shouldn't pull the plastic tablecloths with the soup onto them, and how they should be careful that if they have a bunch of children running around in the house and the mother likes to take a nap after adlaka, and there's an open blech that the children could reach and pull a pot off the blech, and you have a house that has 10 children and all of them lit Hanukkah menorahs, and it's right near the drapes, so she would get it, and I remember she would get it translated in 3 languages, in English, in Hebrew, and in Yiddish, and she would give it out. But all of this is in the category of Lo yisasim damim b'beisecha. Hanu lach shosha nogach arba v'chamisha, Hanu lach shosha nogach arba v'chamisha, Hanu lach shosha nogach arba v'chamisha. Now,
can I add something on what we just said?
Yes.
It seems like that not everybody holds this way, because if you could have a shor muad, then not everybody.
Obviously, not everybody holds that way, because Rabbi Yehuda holds from a pasuk that it's enough a shmir pchusa. It's only specific to this case, because there might be exeris hakosov not that way. Remember, there is a machlokes in Metzias over here, because we have one opinion that stam shvarim b'cheska shimer, and one opinion stam shvarim la b'cheska shimer. So there's a lot of Metzias questions by the oxen. Now,
we also had a case where you had the person trained the animal to be ferocious, and he's putter in that case. Obviously, you're allowed to own that.
No, that's different. That's in a matador's ring. Now, there was a business to have a matador's ring. A person could have it. You could have a hunting dog, right? So then you have to protect it properly. You have to have.
But the Yidden didn't do that. It's a goyish thing.
Right. The Noda B'Yehuda says, when they asked the Noda B'Yehuda about hunting, he said that that's the midah of Esav. That's what Esav was. Esav was a hunter. It's interesting, though, that there are chilukim. Yidden all the time went fishing. Right? So the Noda B'Yehuda was talking about hunting for hunting's sake, for the pleasure of hunting. Fishing, when people would eat the fish, so then they would throw back fish that are not kosher. I couldn't bring myself to fish either. The idea of putting a hook in a fish's mouth, it was a hard thing. So anyway, the next Mishnah highlights, and we have Sandy Grunfeld over here joining us. It's nice to have you, Sandy. One day we'll be zeicha that Sandy will come and join us on Zoom. One day we all have to do tshuva and be roy lekach. But when we're on a higher madrega, we might get Sandy Grunfeld to come and join us on Zoom, unless he moves here to Fairways, and then he'll come here in person. So anyway, the next Mishnah showcases a halacha that we don't paskin like. And that's the halacha of sumchis, that mammon amutal b'safek cholkin. That if there's a question about monies, then we split it. We hold like the klal gadol b'Torah, as the Gemara will discuss, hamoitzi mechaveira olav araya. So that if Marshall wants to take money away from someone, he has to prove it. Otherwise, he can't take the money away. It has to be moitzi mechaveira olav araya. So what happened over here is Shorsha Nagach Esapara, Marshall's ox gored Abi's cow. Now that's no question about it. We know that Marshall's ox gored Abi's. That Marshall is guilty, that's not a question, as we could all imagine very easily. However, v'nimtza ubra b'tzida. However, the fetus of Avi's cow was found alongside the cow. And the question is, did it deliver before Marshall's ox gored it, and then Marshall would not be responsible for the fetus? Or was it caused by the goring, and then Marshall will be responsible for the fetus as well? And that's what the Mishnah speaks out. But ain't you do, and it's not known, im ad shaloi nakha yolda, if it gave birth before Marshall's ox did the damage, in Mishinakha Yolda. So Abi is claiming, of course, that you killed my ox and my fetus. And Marshall says, hey, listen, Buster, your animal gave birth before. I'm not responsible for the fetus. So here is where Subcha says, Maman Amul B'Safik Kolkin. It's a tam. So Marshall pays a chatzi nezek for the cow, and he pays a revia nezek for the vlad. Mishalem chatzi nezek lapara. He pays a chatzi nezek for the cow, or revia nezek lavlad, and a quarter for the fetus. Because since the fetus, we don't know if it was because of his goring, so it's maman amutu b'safik, so cholkin. V'chein, and likewise is the following case. Para shenokha es hashar. Here, it was Abi's cow that gored Marshall's shar, and it was a tam. Now remember, by a tam, you could only pay migufay, from the body of the damaging animal. V'nimtza v'lada b'tzida, and we find the fetus alongside, a live fetus alongside the cow. Marshall claims that it gored while it's pregnant, so he could collect the chatzi nezek even from the fetus. Abi says it gave birth before it gored, and therefore it wasn't part of the crime, and therefore Marshall can't collect from the fetus. Ve'ein yedua im ad sheloi nakha yolda, if it gave birth before it gored, and therefore Marshall can't get his hands on the fetus. In Mishinaka Yolda, or if it gave birth after it gored, and therefore Marshall could collect the chatzi nezek from the body of the fetus as well. So Mishtalim chatzi nezek minapara, Marshall could get chatzi nezek from the cow, but only revia nezek minavlad, only a quarter from the vlad, because he's not sure whether that the fetus was part of the damaging activity, and therefore he cannot collect a full chatzi nezek from the vlad, but only a quarter. Now the Gemara is going to ask, why does Marshall have to collect 3/4, half a nezek from the cow and a revia nezek from the vlad? He only gets chatzi nezek. Why does he collect 3/4? So the simple explanation that the Gemara brings is that if Abi's cow is still around, then he gets the chatzi nezek from the cow. If Abi's cow disappeared, Abi is very good at disappearing it, and therefore he has to collect only from the fetus. So from the fetus, he could only get a revia nezek because it's a suffix. The Gemara will offer other explanations as well. Now, this that we say where there's a suffix, we split it, as I said, Amr Rab Yehuda, Amr Shmuel, Zu Divrei Sumchas. This is the opinion of Sumchas to Amr Maman Amutal B'Safik Cholkin, that money that's in doubt, in question, we split. Aval Chachamim Aimrim, the Chacham say, Zek Klal Gadol Badin, this is a great principle in judgment, that Amoitzi Mechavel Varaya, if Marshall wants to collect, let's say in the first case, in the first case where AB wants to collect, because he says that Marshall damaged his fetus as well, if he wants to collect that money, he has to prove it. Otherwise, Marshall takes his thumb, and you know what he does he gives him the thumb. When
only the thumb, right?
Only the thumb. But most of the time, you're sucking your thumb. So anyway, says the Gemara. So now the Gemara says, why is this called? I mean, it's a rule. Why is it called Klal Gadol Badin? Lamali Lameimer Zek Klal Gadol Badin. This is a great principle. I mean, Rich says Sufganiyot are great, but is a great principle. It's a principle. What's the superlatives over here? It's a great principle. Huh? What? Beseder, right. Yeah. So the Gemara says, Itzrich. Why? It's so powerful. Dafilu nizik amar bari. Even if AB says, I'm certain that my animal was still pregnant when Marshall gored it. Umazik amar shema. And Marshall says, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It's not enough that AB says, AB is negabadav. It's not enough that AB says, I'm sure. He has to bring proof. So, that's one explanation of Zek Klal Gadol Badin. Hinami, or the Gemara says another scenario. Lechiha de Itmar. Now this is a case, and I always tell Mark, I don't know, he doesn't listen. I always tell Mark, don't be so quick to buy things from Marshall. But he's very naive, Mark.
My fault for sale. You want to buy it?
Yeah, I mean, this Bela Kinwood, I don't know. So anyway, Hamoicher Shar L'Chaveirai, Marshall sells a shar to Mark, and V'nimtza Nakchen, it turns out to be a menace. Well, you should have known that the name of the ox was Dennis. You should have figured it out, Mark, right? So it turned out to be mamish, a menace. Rav says, Harizem HaKachtois. Rav says Marshall could say, I want my money back. I don't have a steel cage for this animal. V'Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, oh, listen to this. Marshall wasn't born yesterday. Marshall says, I sold it to you for steak for the winter. Who cares that it's a nakhan? I figured you wanted cowboy steaks. I see the way you look at me when I eat my frankfurters. That's V'Shmuel Amar Yochel Sheyayimeloi. Marshall could tell Mark, L'shchita mechartiv lach. I sold it to you for shchita. So the Gemara says, well, I don't understand. That l'chayr is something that we could easily prove. Let's see if Mark is a rancher or he just makes barbecues. So the Gemara says, Amai, v'nirze yigavad dezarim l'ridya, is he a person that buys oxen for plowing? Yigavad dezarim l'nechsasa, or does he buy it for cowboy steaks? Let's see if he has a ranch or all he has is a big, Weber grill. Let's see. It says, it's talking about where Mark does both. He plows, but he likes a good cowboy steak, Mondays and Wednesdays. I shouldn't tell you this, but it's, so the Gemara says, V'nirze, so then let's see how much money he paid him. obviously a ox for plowing is going to be more expensive. That's gonna be more expensive. So the Gemara says, "V'nirze, let's do an analysis. Idmei ridya l'ridya, idmei nechsasa l'nechsasa. What did he pay for it? If he paid the higher price for plowing, because an animal that plows, as we see, needs to have good behavior, so it's more expensive. And idmei nechsasa, if he paid just for steak, it's going to be cheaper." Says the Gemara, no, it's talking about a time where the market for good cowboy steaks is very high, and the price that people pay is the same. Like tzricha the oiker bisra, that the price went up, the kaibid meiradya, and it's worth the price of an animal for plowing. So now the Gemara asks an interesting question. Amrei, the Gemara asks, as we, believe it or not, already turned to Mem Vav Amid Beis, then what's the problem? What's Mark making such a song and dance about? If the price went up and it's worth that much for its meat, so why does he want to claim a mekach tas? Let him just use it for shchita. Let him sell it to a butcher. He's not going to lose anything. If he can't get any money out of Marshall, let him take the payment out of the ox that Marshall sold him. I know he bought it. He says he bought it for plowing, but if it's the same money because the price of meat was very expensive, so let him give it to the butcher and he'll get his money worth, because the Imre Inche Memori Rashvasek from somebody that owes you money, pari effort, you should even take payment in bran. So let him take payment with the ox. Says the Gemara, no, it's talking about where Marshall has the money. And therefore he says, why should I'm not into horse trading. Why should I have to take it to the butcher and sell it? I wanted to buy it for plowing, and it's no good. It's a madman. You take it back. So Rav Amar, Rav says, it's a mekach tais. And because most people buy animals for plowing. So therefore, there were more ranchers than butchers. So Rav Amar harizeh mekach tais, zilbas aruba, v'ruba din she'leridyahu dezavnei. The majority of people buy for plowing, and therefore, since it's a lemon, he bought for Marshall a lemon, it's a gorer, he could get his money back. V'shmuel amar yachol she'yomer Mark could say, l'shchita mechartev lach, I sold it to you for slaughter, v'lo yazlinan basar ruba, and we don't go basar majority. You know where we go basar majority? Ki yazlina basar ruba b'yisura. But by money, lo yazlinan basar ruba, el ha'moitz mechal ve'el v'raya. You want to say and claim that I bought it for shchita, keneged the raiv, you have to bring proof. That would be an interesting application of ha'moitz mechal ve'el v'raya, and there, that's the reason why it says klal gadol b'Torah. Now, this that we say that our Mishnah is only going according to the Sumchas, but the Rabbanan say ha'moitz mechal ve'el v'raya. Now we have a beferish brisa this way. Tanya Nami Achi, Shar Shenogach Esapara, Marshall's Shar gored Abi's cow, Venimtza Ubra Betzida, and the fetus is found alongside. And we don't know if it gave birth before it was gored, and therefore Marshall is not responsible to pay for the fetus. Or if it gored it, it gave birth before it gored, and therefore Marshall is not responsible for the fetus, or if it miscarried after it was gored, and therefore Marshall is responsible for the fetus. So Mishalem Chatzi Nezik the Pari pays a Chatzi Nezik for the cow, or Ravia Nezik Vlad, he pays a quarter for the Vlad because the Vlad is in doubt. And one moment Amut B'Safik Kolkin Divrei Sumchus. V'Chacham Marshal doesn't pay for the fetus at all, because if Abi wants to collect for the fetus, he has to prove that the animal did not give birth at the time of the goring. If he wants to collect for the fetus, Olav he has to prove it. Now, says Gemara, where do we know the Yesod of Amoitzi Mechaber Olav Arai? Where do we know this from? I don't want to save this for the last minute, and then somebody is going to leave and not know for tomorrow. I hate messing around with the time of the shir. I like it to be constant, stable. Everybody knows what time it is. They could set their clock by it. But I have to do it again tomorrow night because my brother is making a wedding. So if it would be in Ashkash Begash, so then I'm what could I do? But the wedding is here in Lakewood, so he really wants me to be by the chuppah. So we're going to have a late start tomorrow night so that I could run back, dash back right after the chuppah. The chuppah is called for 7:30, so let's say it starts at 7:45. So we're gonna have shir tomorrow night. So everybody here gets messed up because you come to Mariv at 7:45, and then you have to wait around a little bit. But we're gonna call shir for tomorrow night at 8:25. 8:25 tomorrow night. That way I can run back. It's in Beis Fega, so that way I'll try to get back maybe a few minutes earlier, but I can't. So 8:25, Shelley, you'll put it on the Zoom. I'm very sorry, everybody. I try to do this very rarely, but it's my brother. So, huh?
You're a good brother.
Yeah, well, he's a good brother. I don't know, I'm a good brother, but he's a good brother.
Well, Mazel Tov, Rabbi.
Yeah, thank you. He's a good brother. So anyway, says the Gemara, Amrav Shmuel ben Achbeini, Menayin lamoitz mechaver olav araya. How do we know that if we want to take the money away from Marshall, that we have to prove it? How do we know? Shenemar mi bal devarim, who has a claim, what's the lashon of the pasuk? Yigash, right? Yigash, right? Yeah, mi bal devarim, yigash aleihem. And yigash aleihem means to bring to them, meaning bring to them, namely the judges, bring to them a raya. Yagish raya aleihem. Bring to them a proof. So Rav Ashi says, and I have a feeling Marshall would say this too, what do you need a pasuk for? If you want to take money away from me, you better bring proof. What is this, a free-for-all? Do I have a target on my face? I mean, Marshall says, why do we need a pasuk for that? Svaru. It's a svara. Dikov le'ki'iva. If somebody has a pain, ozul be'asi, he should go to the doctor. And the Mefarshim, the Rishonim, explain this means that the doctor can't help you unless you tell the doctor your symptoms. Unless you tell the doctor what's wrong. You just go to the doctor and say, cure me. It doesn't work. If you want to you want to be healed, you have to tell the doctor what the symptoms are. So here too, you want to collect from Marshall, you have to bring proof. Ella akra. If you want to know what the pasuk is, the pasuk is Rav Nachman Amar Rabba Baravua. It's for the case of Rav Nachman in the name of Rabba Baravua. Minayin she'ein niskokin ela l'tevei atchila. How do we know that we don't give attention except to the claimant first? Now this is a case where Shelley tells Rabbi Kranz, you owe me $1,000. Now Rabbi Kranz has a spiel. He says, yeah, I owe you $1,000 because you once borrowed my guitar, and you said you gave it was a very choshev guitar, and you gave it back to me without strings. So we don't say, well, okay, there's a counterclaim here. We have to study both claims. No, first we attend to the promissory note that he owes him $1,000. And then after we resolve that, then we'll go into the claim about the guitar. Or another case where Shelley says, you owe me $1,000, and Rabbi Kranz says, yeah, I gave you a Rolex watch, and I got it back, and it's not working. I gave you collateral. So first we attend to the claimant first. And that's what the Gemara says, Shenema mi bal devarim, the one who has the claim, yigash aleim, yigash devarav aleim. First we attend to the claimant of the loan, and then we look into the secondary claims. Says the Gemara, it's not always that way. Let's say that Shelley has a claim that Rabbi Kranz owes him $1 million. Now Rabbi Kranz is trying to sell some real estate in the Bronx so that he could have money to pay schar limud and the mortgage, and he can't get a good price for his real estate because the buyers think he's very, very hard put for money because he has to pay the $1 million. So they don't want to give him a good price. So his merchandise is suffering. His assets are suffering. Sometimes we attend to the one who is being the claim is made against first, where his assets are depreciating because of the claim. And since his assets are depreciating because of the claim, and he cannot cover his costs and his bills, so then we attend to Rabbi Kranz first. Now, let's go to the case, the second case in the Mishnah. And that's where, incredibly, it's Abi's cow that did damage to Marshall's ox. I know it's hard to imagine, but that was the case. That Abi's cow did damage to Marshall's ox. And when it came payday, it was a tam, the fetus of Abi's cow is lying alongside Abi's cow. Now Marshall wants to collect both, remember it's only migufay, it's a tam. So he wants to collect both from the body of the cow and the body of the fetus, claiming that the fetus also gored his animal. And Abi said the fetus is off limits from you because it gave birth before it gored your ox. And therefore you can't touch the body of the fetus. You can only touch the body of the cow. And of course, Marshall claims it gave birth afterwards. When it gored, the fetus was inside the cow, and therefore he could get his paws on the fetus as well. So the Mishnah says that you pay a half a nezek from, Abi has to pay a half a nezek from the cow, but if he's paying from the fetus, he only has to pay a quarter of an nezek, because we're not sure if it did the damage as well or not. So as I told you, the Gemara takes it literal, a half and a quarter. why should he have to pay a half and a quarter, which is 3/4? It's a tam. He only has to pay a chatzi nezek. So the Gemara has a very, very novel way of learning this. I want to speak it outside before we learn it inside. What happened over here is that the cow and the fetus were owned by two people. The cow was owned by Abi, and the fetus, you won't believe who owned the fetus. Mark owned the fetus. You don't believe it. So Abi says that I had a partner, and therefore I don't have to pay. I only have to pay half of the damages. And therefore, since it's a tam and it pays a chatzi nezek, therefore I only have to pay a quarter. Because the other quarter you have to deal with my partner, with Mark. Mark says, what are you talking about? It already gave birth before it gored. And therefore I'm not part of this mess at all. So therefore, Abi has to pay a quarter because that's all he's responsible for, because he says that I have a partner. Mark says, well, I'm not a partner. It gave birth before it damaged. So here it's Maman Amuta B'Safik. So normally Mark would have to give a quarter because it's a tam, so he has to give a half of the half. So normally I have to give a quarter, but we're not sure if Mark is involved in this, so he only has to give an eighth. So when it says that in the Mishnah that Abi pays half, that from the animal Marshall collects half, and from the fetus he collects a quarter, it really means that he collects from Abi a quarter, because he for sure is a partner in it, and he collects only from Mark an eighth. So let's see it inside. It's really interesting. Says the Gemara, let's look at it inside at the two dots. V'chein para shenokha es hashar, where it's Abi's cow that gored Marshall's ox. So we said that Marshall collects a chatzi nezik from the cow and a revia nezik from the fetus. So the Gemara asks, chatzi nezik for revia nezik, that's 3/4. Palganizko the boy shlume. He only has to pay a chatzi nezik. Kule niska nake river. The whole amount minus a quarter. In other words, 3/4 maya vidite. Why should he have to pay? Amar Abaya chatzi nezik is echad ma'arba b'nezik. Abi pays a quarter. Revi nezik, and a quarter means an eighth. Mark pays echad mishmayna b'nezik. The Gemara says, if the cow and the fetus both belong to Abi, Marshall could say to the owner of the cow, I don't care. And if it's not from the fetus, I'm going to collect everything from the cow. Give me a half damage. If you want to say that it gave birth before it gored, okay, so don't give me from the fetus, give me from the animal. It's talking about where the cow belonged to Abi and the fetus belonged to Mark. If he went first to Abi, there Marshall could tell Abi, listen, I don't care. You surely damaged me. Your cow damaged me. You want to say that you have a partner? Prove it. So then he would be able to collect everything from Abi. But Marshall made a mistake. Marshall went to collect from Mark first, the owner of the fetus first. He went to collect from Mark first. So now Abi tells him, look, you revealed that I have a partner. You revealed that I have a partner, therefore I only have to pay half. So since it's a tam, I only have to give you a quarter. You revealed that I have a partner, and therefore I'm going to pay a quarter, because since I have a partner, I have to pay half of the half. Half of the half is a quarter. Mark says you can't prove that I'm in this crime at all, because maybe the animal gave birth before it gored, and therefore I wasn't part of the crime at all, and therefore I only have to pay an eighth. Ikidamre. There's another version. Afal gav de kodem tovei lebal parat tchila. Even if Marshall went to Abi first, Motzi matchile, Abi could push him away and say, look, the chazaka, there's a rule of presumptive status. This animal was pregnant. So it's chazaka that it was still pregnant when it gored your animal. And therefore the rule of chazaka says that there was a partner. I know through the bearer of chazaka, of presumptive status, that there's a partner. So I'm only going to pay 50%, and 50% of half is a quarter. I'm a Rava. So Rava says that would be a really beautiful pshat if the Mishnah said a quarter and an eighth. But the Mishnah doesn't say a quarter and an eighth. The Mishnah says a chatzi nezek and a reviya nezek. It says in the Mishnah chatzi nezek or reviya nezek katani. It says chatzi nezek and a reviya nezek. So Rava says a simple pshat, which I told you when we learned the Mishnah. What it means is if it's both the cow and the fetus belong to Abi. Mark is out of this. Mark was on a cruise. He's out of this. He was cruising in the Bahamas. Not a bad idea, Mark, right? But anyway, it's between Marshall and Abi. If the cow is around, Taki collects a chatzi nezek from the cow. But Abi's a shrewd guy. The cow is nowhere to be found. Abi knows as soon as this happens, he sends it to the marsh. So now you can only collect from the fetus. From the fetus is a suffix, so you can only get a quarter. It's talking about where the cow and the ox belong to Abi. And this is what the Mishnah means. If the cow is around, then mishtalim chatzi nezek b'para. Then he gets the chatzi nezek from the cow. And no cowing around over here. Then he gets the chatzi nezek from the cow. Less elapara, but if the cow is not around, then mishtalim reviya nezek mivlad. He gets the quarter of the nezek from the fetus. Now, one thing the Gemara says for sure, if we know that the cow was pregnant when it damaged, then everybody agrees that we collect from the fetus. It's only if we don't know if it was pregnant or it already gave birth when it did the damage. But if we know that it was pregnant when it did the damage, then we collect the chatzi nezek for sure from the fetus too. We could collect the full chatzi nezek even from the fetus. Why? Says Rava goes according to his reasoning. The Amar Rava Parish Hezika, a cow that does damage, Goiva Mavlada, you could collect from the fetus. Uber Yerachimai. The Uber is part of the mother. My time a goofy. Says the Gemara, and we're getting a little bit ahead for tomorrow night, so this way, when we start at 8:25, we could still try to finish by 9, even though we're starting at 8:25, so we're getting ahead. If a chicken does damage, then eina goiva mebeyasa. We don't collect from its egg. The egg is not part of the body of the chicken. My timer, that's pirsha ba'almahu, that's just the dung of the chicken. It's not part of the chicken. It's the secretion of the chicken, and that's not considered gufa. Okay, a few things. We're going to do the Mishnah Yomis now. It's been a while, so I've been keep on pushing off the Mishnah Yomis and doing it earlier, so it's good that we get a chance to do the Mishnah Yaimis. But before I do, again, I want to remind everybody that start time tomorrow night, a one-time deal, start time tomorrow night is at 8:25. And I'm going to, believe me, if I get a bracha under the chuppah, I run out after I get my bracha. I don't even stay for the rest of the chuppah. So I'm really going to run out to, I don't even know if I'm getting anything under the chuppah. I didn't ask, but, huh? No, if it starts later, I leave. I'm not.
For the first bracha.
I'm not. Ma'ariv, same time. Ma'ariv is a quarter day. We can't mess around with Ma'ariv.